My name is Placi Espejo and I can't stop moving my hands, which is my thing. And I work for the Oxford Technology Park as head of business development, which is a very exciting project, which is a new technology park in Oxford. And we're a business in Oxford, so I thought we'll just do Twitter instead of emails or phone numbers or anything like that. So what we are going to be doing in the next 20 minutes or so is we're going to have a little bit of fun for what it is, or at least at the beginning, what it is a very serious topic. And it's a very serious topic, which is very close to my heart. And although the slide is called "When Did Conditioning Become an Invisible Routine?" It's pretty much, we should say, when can conditioning become our invisible routine? And the key word here is invisible and conditioning, and you will see why those three are pretty important at this moment in time. So we're going to do a little bit of a fun game. We're going to talk about the invisible reality and some of the painful truth that some people have to endure through life, and mostly recently. Talk a little bit about what I've used or people that I know used, and I'm going to let you go into the world and hopefully condition away wildly within measures. So I'm going to start with this is a picture of my three best friends and myself from Spain, who have known each other since primary school, secondary school, and throughout the years we've been supporting each other one way or another. And I'm going to show you who they are. So this is Marie Carmen. Marie Carmen is happily married. She's got kids. She's quite settled. This is Carmen Maria. She is a single mum who lives with her mum, not that settled. And this is Madireme, who is adventurer of the group. And you will see that all of them are called Marias. And I know everyone in Spain, there was a time everyone was called Maria. They're gorgeous Marias, and I love them to bits. And these girls in these pictures are amazing, and I adore them, all of them. So unfortunately, the reality is that what we see is a picture with a group of girls who are smiling at the camera, but deep down, one of these girls is struggling with her mental illness. And I'll give you a little bit of background on what happened to these particular Maria. So we're going to call them Marias. She was an amazing, gorgeous, happy child. She had this smile, of an angel. But throughout the years, she changed when she had her depression. She was not seen properly. She gained weight. She became quite chubby. She was very unhappy with herself, and there was all these people putting all this stuff in her mind, and she just couldn't cope. She just couldn't cope with the way that people saw her. She didn't believe that people saw the real her. The 20s were a testing time for her, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. The bulimia got worse, and she was very sick. And in her 30s, when her marriage broke down, she was medically, clinically depressed, as they like to say. So pretty unhappy. Kind of 3 decades that she's had to put up in her life, which is not very happy. And I know it's not a happy topic, but we're going to do a little bit of a game. So you saw those girls. I'm going to see if you can work out whether there is a happy ending, and I can tell you about it. So you saw these 4 girls, and we're going to call them 1, 2, and 3, or if you remember the names, how they are. And in the chat, if you want to play the game, see whether you can work out which one it is that I was talking to you about. And if you've heard me this before, which is not really the first time I've talked about this, don't do it. Hopefully that makes sense. Right, so 10 seconds. I can't see the chat. I don't know whether people are writing anything in the chat. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to see whether you can work out who it is. Right. And this is a moment of silence, which I love to embrace because that gives me some time to pick up my gather my thoughts again. We are going to be talking to you about the following Maria. So I'm going to say that Marie Carmen is happily married with triplets. She's very settled. She's so that's not her. So that's one out. Carmen Maria is actually living with her mum. She's not very adventurous or independent, but she does have a son. And Marie Reme is not married. She's single, but she hasn't got children. So the one that is left out, it's me. So at this point, I don't know whether you are confused or thinking what happened there, but I'm actually the Maria that we were talking about. My first name is Maria, my middle name is Placida, and when I went to high school, I decided to use my middle name because I thought it was a lot cooler in those days. So yeah, so that's me, and it is quite an interesting topic because if you've just met me for the past 5 minutes in the screen, you wouldn't think that that person that is smiling to you and is all buzzing and bubbly and so on is someone who's struggling with mental disorders. If you've known me for a long time in the past 20 years, very rarely I talk about this. Most recently, I have been talking about this if I don't know you well. So you will just see me in a very different way, and I will show you which way you do. But this is how I saw myself as a gorgeous girl, but that put on weight and became really frustrated with everything that was going into her head, to the point that the voice in her head took over. This is a very hard time. It was 10 years in my time in which I was very sick. And at the time, an eating disorder was just a coping mechanism, but it's actually the mental illness that takes the most lives in the UK and at any time. So it's a pretty hard one to get over. I was very happy. I had an amazing friend who saw me, saw the real me. This is the key, again, is about seeing people, not just the exterior, but seeing what's going on in their heads. And she did say to me, and she was very brave actually, she did say to me, I see what you're doing to yourself. I love you too much. Can I help? And it was that moment in which I kind of, one of my first light bulb moments. So I sought help. I had therapy. I had an emotions diary, which was what actually got me out. I learned to eat again. And within 6 months, my metabolism changed and I became this skinny, thin stick that I am at the moment. And the way in which I started this presentation is about for you to realize that we only see the exterior people in most cases. We don't see what's going on in their heads. Which is very relevant, especially during lockdown recently. And the invisible truth is that you guys see this. You see the bubbly person who's smiley, who's going out of their way to try to help others, because I believe very strongly in volunteering and helping others in life. But unfortunately, all I can hear in my head is one of these 8 words. And I've done these 8 words as a kind of a group of what I have to struggle sometimes. When I have what I call my low moments. And I did a thing that I told Paul and I told Wendy a while back. I did this photographic diary, which was very similar to an emotions diary. And literally, I took pictures of myself when I was experiencing any of those feelings, which was very useful to understand and to see the emotions in my face, to understand how those emotions were actually affecting my mind. How do I get through it? How do I change things? What happens? Is it a moment in a day? What happens to it? So I only found recently what happened and how I did it. And it was by a matter of luck. And it was kind of one of those light bulb moments. And I know John F. Kennedy is hopefully watching, so he'll understand a little bit about what I'm saying. So the last Tuesday in November, it was my day of brown and white belt, which and take bruising really easily. And that day, hit quite a few times. But at the end of it, apart from the joyful pride that you have of getting through it, with the support of all those wonderful women that I train with every week, at the end of it, the grading person, the person who was grading me, came to me and said, "It's all about conditioning you to your black belt." So I went home. That kind of conditioning was stuck in my mind, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And at that throughout the days, I started to draw, to write in pieces of paper what I thought had helped me mentally, to get through the days, the weeks, the months, the years. And I'd realized that the same that I had been conditioning my body to every single grading that I was taking to take stronger hits and more painful hits, I had been conditioning my mind in a way in which I could actually pinpoint what I thought was helping me at one specific time. And the way in which I was kicking, literally kicking, mental disorder, which I call it, I don't call it a mental illness because it comes and goes, and you know, I don't think it's to an extreme, is by actually practicing a lot of self-love, which I did when I was recovering from my bulimia, to always find a reason to get up in the morning, to change the negatives into the positives. Paul and I have been talking about this extremely for a long period. But what really did it for me is that I need to work on silencing that nasty voice that always brings me down, that is that kind of low self-esteem, you're worthless, you're not good enough, it's always your fault. And I've learned to see the signs of when I'm having one of those days, and I embrace the emotions. So if I want to cry, I cry. If I want to shout, I shout. If I want to do some impromptu dancing, I do. And most importantly, is I let others in. So I pick up the phone, I text, I call. Normally I go for a coffee with friends, but I can. So those 7 steps always are the ones that I go back to in a list that I have. And the 7+1 is hugging. I couldn't live without hugging, so I'm craving hugs at the moment. How do you put these ones, and in what order? If you're in a new testing situation like lockdown, when you are actually sailing towards mental disorder, anxiety, panic, whatever you want to call it, I will say you need to learn the signs. You see the signs of what's happening, what's coming, how are you feeling? Feel the sadness, feel the anxiety, what's happening to you. Find a reason to get up in the morning. Be nice, be kind to yourself, but by doing that, you will become a stronger person, and you will be able to silence that nasty voice if eventually it does appear. Always turn the negatives into our positives. So if you are stuck at home because you're furloughed, you're spending more time with your children, you are actually more patient. That's a positive into it. Don't stop telling yourself that you're beautiful. So when you're brushing your teeth, tell yourself that you're not too bad for a 40-something-year-old. And there are ways in which you can still keep in touch with others. Don't go and retrieve yourself in that kind of cave that is very difficult for someone to access and pull you out to. And when we eventually can have hacks, you know, go and hack away, because there's nothing that's going to make you feel better than that. This is what I saw during lockdown. I saw my fears, the emotions, the negativity, and the need. And for you to be able to see a beautiful girl on the other side, I had to find a reason. I had to be kind to myself so that I could be strong and I could self-love myself again. So the way in which I did it was by actually getting out of my comfort zone. I'm one that, you know, if you feel the fear, do it anyway. If any of you have read that book. So I found 2 ways. I got out of the house of that self-isolation very carefully, and I volunteered to pack meals for the NHS, which has been a godsend for me. So I do 3 shifts a week, and I come back home and I'm buzzing because I can talk to people. I feel worthy. I feel that I'm doing something for others. And then the other one is I pick up TikTok, and I pick up TikTok not only just to do lip syncing and silly stuff and prank my son, but actually to talk to others about positive vibes and body image and self-love and so on. And every time that I do that, someone messages me back to say that was amazing, that helped me to get through the day. So I get that warm, fuzzy feeling that gets me throughout the day. And that's been a great way in which I've converted a need to help others into my reason to get through lockdown. I've converted my negative, the darkness and so on, into my positive. So, I express gratitude. I know I hit rock bottom many times, but I'm always very resilient. I know I'm resilient, and I hit rock bottom and I get up and I go. I find things so that I to do, so that I find the worthiness in what I do. I'm not afraid of the lonely time or the loneliness. I actually embrace them, and I call it reflection time. And I don't see ugliness. I see beauty in the smile when I still see my best 3 friends from Spain, or when I still Zoom on a Tuesday night, the karate girls who I adore, and they've got me through a lot. And my son, who was the reason why when I was clinically depressed, I'm still here. So that's kind of changing your negatives into positives, just one step at a time as well, guys. You can't do this all in a week. It's taken me 10 years to get to this, but hopefully it will help you. If you live with someone that lockdown is a struggle, just actually try to express what I think life or live means. So love them, praise them, practice that self-love to them. Stop seeing, not seeing them, see them, stop that invisibility. Don't see just the body, see their actions, see what's happening in the mind, and understand, educate yourself and hear what's going on in the brain. And if this is you, this can also apply to yourself. So leave is very important. This is just a slide, and I think we've got 3 minutes of some people that so that everyone at one point will struggle with a mental disorder. 1 in 4 will have a mental problem in our lives. So just wanted not to wake up in the morning. Is a friend of mine who's just survived from cancer, was clinically depressed. Is Katy Perry, who gave an interview, and yes, she can also be depressed. Just imagine that insight. I'll let you read them if you can. Is Ruby Wax, who is an amazing ambassador for mental health because she struggles. Or I had no idea how much I was struggling with Stacey Lowe, who came out recently to say she's been suffering with depression. Being medicated feels like the final humiliation. Is someone that I follow on Instagram. He's a great guy. He's a coach and a veteran, and I have a lot of time and thought for him. And he talks about the time when he suffered from depression. And the one in the middle, I thought if I died, the problem will disappear. That was mine when I was at my very darkness possible. But again, you hit rock bottom, you'll be surprised how you can get up and how resilient everyone can be. There is help. I know we've got 2 minutes. There's help around. This presentation is going to go, so I'm not going to bore you to that. But I would like to ask you all, so that we've got time for a minute or so for a chat, if it's possible, to close your eyes. So if everyone close your eyes, hopefully you all closing your eyes, whoever you are, wherever you are. And now I would like you to listen to me very carefully. So I'd like you to deep breathe in and breathe out. And when you breathe out, I want you to actually listen to me. Close your eyes and go. You can be seen and be loved. You need to be loved to be seen. You need to be weak to be strong. You need to be strong to feel. You need to feel to be alive. You need to be alive to love. You need to love yourself so that others can love you. And now you can open your eyes.